Hi everyone, I'm Emma, and you're on the Stories by Emma channel. Let's dive into some amazing stories. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thank you. Breaking free at city lights. Elena Garcia never imagined she would find herself standing on the edge of the bustling Brooklyn Bridge, staring at the city skyline, with her life in shambles. The cool breeze brushed against her face, carrying memories of everything she had lost. After years of battling addiction and making poor choices, Elena found herself estranged from her family and trapped in an endless cycle. But tonight, under the city's bright lights, something shifted inside her. A small, fragile hope that things could change. It had been a tough few years. Elena grew up in a working-class neighborhood, surrounded by people who struggled to make ends meet. Her early 20s were filled with wrong turns, friends who pulled her into the world of drugs, a series of dead-end jobs, and eventually, the arrest that led her to rehab. Now at 28, she was clean but broken, desperate for a fresh start yet unsure where to begin. The city was unforgiving, but Elena found solace in one small corner of it. Hope House, a shelter run by a retired social worker named Grace Porter. It wasn't much, just a safe space for women like Elena trying to get back on their feet. The moment she walked through the door, Grace greeted her with a warm smile that said more than words ever could. "Welcome home," she said, and for the first time in years, Elena felt like she could breathe. The first few weeks at Hope House were hard. Elena was used to running away from her problems, not facing them. But Grace believed in her, and that belief made all the difference. Slowly, Elena started to rebuild herself, working small jobs, attending therapy, and making plans for the future. But the shadow of her past still loomed large, threatening to pull her back at any moment. Everything changed when Elena met Ava, a 16-year-old runaway who reminded her too much of herself at that age. Ava was tough on the outside, masking her vulnerability with sarcasm and rebellion. But Elena saw through the act. She recognized the fear in Ava's eyes, the same fear that had once consumed her. Determined not to let Ava fall into the same traps, Elena took her under her wing, trying to give her the guidance she herself had once needed. Their bond grew over late-night talks in the small, cozy kitchen of the shelter. Elena shared her story, not holding back the ugly parts, and in return, Ava began to open up about her life on the streets. It wasn't easy. Ava pushed back, testing Elena's patience, but slowly she started to trust. The weight of responsibility was heavy, but for the first time, Elena felt like she had a purpose beyond just surviving. One night, during one of their conversations, Ava confided in Elena about a group she had become entangled with. A group that was dangerous and wouldn't let her go easily. Elena's stomach dropped. She knew exactly what Ava was talking about because she had once been involved with people like that too. She had barely escaped, and the thought of Ava being trapped in that life terrified her. Determined to help Ava, Elena turned to Grace for advice. Grace, always the calm voice of reason, reminded Elena that she couldn't save everyone. But this wasn't just about saving Ava. It was about redeeming herself. Helping Ava was a way for Elena to face the demons she had been running from for years. So with Grace's support, she made a plan to get Ava out. The plan was risky. Ava's ties to the group were deep, and there was no guarantee they would let her walk away without a fight. But Elena wasn't going to back down. She had learned that some things were worth fighting for, and Ava's future was one of them. Together, they confronted the group, and though the encounter was tense, they managed to get Ava away safely, though not without scars, both physical and emotional. After the ordeal, Ava was shaken but grateful. She had seen a side of Elena that was strong, determined, and fearless. And for the first time, she began to believe that maybe there was a way out for her too. Elena, on the other hand, felt a sense of closure. By helping Ava, she had finally faced the parts of her past she had always been too afraid to confront. With Ava now safe, Elena began focusing on her own future. She enrolled in a local college's social work program, inspired by Grace and determined to help more women like herself and Ava. The program was challenging, but each class, each assignment, felt like a step toward becoming the person she had always wanted to be. It was hard work, but for the first time, Elena felt like she had direction. Grace, noticing Elena's transformation, offered her a permanent role at Hope House as a mentor for other women coming through the shelter. Elena accepted, knowing this was where she belonged. The women who came to the shelter looked up to her, seeing her not just as a survivor, but as a symbol of hope, proof that change was possible. Over time, Hope House thrived under Elena's care. More women came, seeking refuge and finding the same support that had once saved Elena. Ava, now 18, stayed close, working part-time at the shelter and studying to finish high school. Together, they formed a family of sorts, a community bound by shared experiences and the desire for a better future. Elena's life was far from perfect, but it was real and it was hers. She still had moments of doubt, still struggled with the occasional urge to fall back into old habits, but she had people who believed in her, and that made all the difference. On nights when the city felt too overwhelming, she would stand on the roof of Hope House, looking out at the skyline, reminded of how far she had come. One evening, as the sun set over the city, Elena received a call from her estranged family. It had been years since she had spoken to them, but they had heard about her work at Hope House and wanted to reconnect. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized her journey had come full circle. She wasn't just saving others, she was saving herself. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt bright.